we back. Now, today is a special day because the NBA season literally just ended as I'm recording this video, which means that we finally know the playoff seeding. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving my predictions on the first round of the playoffs. Now, I know y'all not seeing this till Friday, but the moment this is dropping, I am thousands of feet in the air on my way to New York and then to Philly for some stuff that you'll learn about very soon. But I wanted to put together this prediction video because it's always one of the most requested videos once the playoffs come around. Now, before we actually get into talking about hoops, I gotta say these are my personal predictions. I'm not a perfect man. Last year, for example, I predicted the Portland Trail Blazers were going to beat the Pelicans, and we know how that turned out. I also picked the OKC Thunder to beat the Utah Jazz, and we know how that turned out. So I'm not a perfect man, but I try to give my predictions, and I'll use logic along with it. But anything can happen in the NBA, and that's why it's a beautiful thing. I'm not trying to convince you to pick the team I picked, and don't be offended if I eliminated your favorite team because people got to get eliminated, okay? So my predictions, that's all. Take it with a grain of salt, but I know some people wanted to see it. So let's get into the first official matchup. So start off with the West, the Warriors versus the Clippers. This is a series that I personally think is going to be a sweep. And people don't like predicting sweep, right? Because they're like, well, it's an NBA team, so they may win one game. They try to play it safe and say, Warriors in 5. I'm not trying to play it safe. I'm legitimately thinking that the Warriors will sweep the Clippers. And it was a great season for the Clippers, but they just don't match up well against the Warriors. This Warriors team is one of the best teams we've ever seen. And I know statistically it may not say that, but I personally believe that the Warriors have been just coasting, and now that the playoffs are here, they about to turn it on. We're about to see Boogie in the playoffs for the first time ever, so that's going to be interesting. And I don't think the Clippers have many options for him. Montrezl Harrell, as gritty as he is and how tenacious he is, he's still a bit smaller than Boogie. He's going to have some problems. And Zubac is a little too inexperienced to stop a DeMarcus Cousins. And y'all know Stephen Curry does his thing. He's going to have a good matchup against Pat Bev, but who's guarding Kevin Durant? Exactly. So that's why I'm saying Warriors in 4. Now with the 2-7 matchup out west, this is one that I am super excited for, and I believe that a lot of people are going to pick the upset. I'm talking Denver Nuggets versus San Antonio Spurs. I'm sure a lot of people pick the Spurs because they have the experience. Greg Popovich is the best coach of all time in my eyes. And then we go to the Denver Nuggets. They don't have much playoff experience. Mike Malone has never coached in the playoffs, so I can legitimately see people taking the Spurs here. And it makes sense. The Spurs are a good team. But I am going to go out and say that the Denver Nuggets do win this series in 6. Personally, I do not trust DeMar DeRozan in the playoffs. And I understand he's in a new system. He's on a new team. But just his track record when the playoffs comes around is a little bit sus. And his ISO ball is good, but once you have a team that can really focus on DeMar DeRozan, he tends to struggle. Last year, 13% of his possessions were isolations. This year, 18% of his possessions are isolations. Like, come on, man. He's ISOing more this year than he did last year. We know DeMar DeRozan's always been an ISO-heavy dude. But I can't say I trust the Spurs. Like, if the Spurs came out and won this series, I wouldn't be surprised, because they do have the experience and they do have the greatest coach of all time. But at the end of the day, I think that the Denver Nuggets are the better team, and I think that Jokic is going to have fun. When I think about Jokic, I always see him struggling against usually the more athletic centers in the league. We talk about like Rudy Gobert. The Spurs don't have that athletic center. It's going to be a lot of LaMarcus Aldridge. It's going to be a lot of Jakob Poeltl. And I believe as long as Jokic stays aggressive, he's going to have an amazing series. So because of that, I am picking Denver Nuggets in 6. But if the Spurs do beat them in the first round, the Spurs are going to the Western Conference Finals. That's my bold prediction. But it's about beating this Denver Nuggets team, and I just think the Denver Nuggets have too much. So next, we have the 3-6 matchup, which is going to be one of the most interesting ones because it is the Portland Trail Blazers versus the OKC Thunder. What sucks is that Jusuf Nurkic is injured. If Jusuf Nurkic was here, I would have felt confident in picking the Portland Trail Blazers. But no, Jusuf Nurkic is really terrible for them. I thought this was going to be a situation similar to what we just saw Virginia do in college basketball, right? Last year, they lost to the 16th seed. They were the laughing stock of all college basketball. And this year, they're like, you know what? We're going to buckle down. We're going to win the championship. Now, I don't think the Portland Trail Blazers would have won a championship with Jusuf Nurkic, but I thought they would have came with that same fire. Like, listen, we will not be embarrassed 2 years in the row. But without Jusuf Nurkic, it's hard for me to rely on Enes Kanter defensively. So because of that, I'm going OKC in 6. It also depends a lot on what OKC does defensively. Last year, Damian Lillard struggled against the Pelicans because they threw Drew Holiday on him, a bigger guard with great defense. If Paul George is guarding Damian Lillard, he will struggle. It's just kind of the way it goes. And I was looking back on film, Russell Westbrook has been the one guarding Damian Lillard this season when they played against each other. And Damian Lillard has had great games, but they never win. They got swept 4-0 by the Thunder this season. So I feel pretty confident in saying that OKC can win this series, especially since they don't have any major injuries. And then, of course, the Portland Trailblazers don't have Nurkic. And CJ McCollum hasn't really looked like himself since he's come back from the injury. It sucks that the Portland Trailblazers facing all of this because, again, I thought they were going to be very, very good. But injuries, man. The season is too long. I'm saying it here, man. The season is too long. Every team, well, not every team, but a lot of these teams, the Portland Trailblazers, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Boston Celtics, these teams are missing big pieces because they got injured late in the season. It sucks. And the last Western Conference playoff matchup is, of course, the Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz. This is the one I spent hours on trying to figure out who I think will win this series. Because we have an offensive juggernaut and James Harden going against the Utah Jazz, who are the best defending team in the league. And I know this is a matchup from last year where the Houston Rockets pretty much won convincingly. Like, it wasn't really that hard for them. But this year, I believe that the Utah Jazz are a better team than they were last year. But all that being said, I am going Houston Rockets in 7. I do think that we may see a game or two in this round where James Harden doesn't look like the James Harden he's looked like because the Utah Jazz are so great defensively. They're going to slow him down a little bit, but I don't think they're going to stop James Harden. And the reason why this is 7 for Houston and not 7 for the Utah Jazz is because Dante Exum is injured. And I know you're probably thinking, Kenny, Dante Exum ain't done nothing this entire year. But remember last year in the playoffs, Dante Exum was the one solution when it came to guarding James Harden. Again, James Harden did have a good series and all, but he still struggled when Dante Exum was guarding him. They played him where they were like, James Harden, you're going to have to use your right hand against us. We're not letting you get in that step back 3. Go to the paint and try to attack Rudy Gobert. And that worked pretty good, but wasn't good enough to win a series. So without Dante Exum, I think they're going to struggle with guarding James Harden one-on-one. So James Harden and company get out in the first round, and they're going to go against the Warriors. But again, these are all my predictions. If the Jazz won this series, I wouldn't be surprised either because they're a very, very good team too. But James Harden is on this tear this season that it's going to be difficult. All right, so with the Western Conference down, let's go to the East where we have the Milwaukee Bucks going against the Detroit Pistons in the first round. This is the easiest pick I've ever done. The Bucks are winning in 4, in my opinion. Blake Griffin is injured right now. He didn't even play the last game of the season, a crucial game of their regular season where they needed to win. And I understand it was against the Knicks and everything, but they needed to win that game, and Blake Griffin was not healthy enough to even suit up. They said his knee was so swollen that he was struggling with walking. So we expect him in 3 days from now to be healthy enough to help the Pistons win? I don't think so. And I'm thinking about it, they match up, or the Milwaukee Bucks match up so well against the Pistons. Brook Lopez is a great rim protector. And then Giannis, if he gets a Blake Griffin assignment, he's going to do his thing defensively too. I know that Malcolm Brogdon is there, but I don't think that matters in this first round. So I'm going Milwaukee Bucks winning in 4. So next, we got the 2-7 matchup, the Toronto Raptors versus the Orlando Magic. Congratulations to the Magic fans. They made the playoffs for the first time in whatever long. And but y'all getting swept in my eyes. I think it's a sweep. Marc Gasol is one of the best post-defending big men in the league, so I think that Nikola Vucevic is going to struggle. If he's guarded by Marc Gasol, he will struggle. Now, when they switch it and maybe have Serge Ibaka on him, I think he may eat up on Serge Ibaka, but once it comes to that post, Marc Gasol is incredible. So I'm thinking this is going Toronto 4 games, like literally. 2 of the matchups in the Eastern Conference are going 4. I just don't think they match up very well. The Toronto Raptors have so many weapons on and off the bench. Give me them in 4. So the next series is the 3-6 matchup, 76ers versus the Brooklyn Nets. This is going to be a good one. I am excited for it. And again, you will figure out why I'm excited for this series in a couple days. But I cannot wait for it, okay? So one thing that the Philadelphia 76ers struggle with is guarding those smaller guards or just guards that are fast, those elusive bang guards. And guess who has two guards like that? Spencer Dinwiddie and D'Angelo Russell are both on this Brooklyn Nets team. So I think that they're going to struggle guarding those dudes. Like Kyrie Irving usually destroys them. And then we have Kemba Walker going off for big games against them. They struggle with guarding good point guards. And it makes sense because Ben Simmons is basically 7 foot. He's not fast enough to keep up with those point guards. JJ Redick don't stand a chance. The only guy that would get those assignments is, of course, Jimmy Butler. But y'all remember, Kemba dropped 60 on Jimmy Butler. And then a couple nights later, when they were going against the Nets, D'Angelo Russell had a good game against them. So they're going to struggle with guarding D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie. But at the end of the day, their team is too good. I'm going Philadelphia 76ers in 6. And as I'm recording this video, we are not 100% sure if Joel Embiid is going to be ready to go for game 1. I hope he is, but we don't really know. But even if he misses a game or two, I feel confident that the rest of this roster will put it together. I'm super excited to see Kenny Atkinson throw that zone on the 76ers because they don't have many shooters in that star lineup. Of course, they have JJ Redick and they have Tobias Harris, but Jimmy Butler's not a great shooter. Joel Embiid is not a shooter, and we know that Ben Simmons is not a shooter. So if they run that zone and really take away Ben Simmons' game, it's going to be a good series, and I cannot wait for it. But at the end of the day, 76ers in 6. And then lastly, we have the 4-5 matchup, the Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers, and this is a one that a lot of people are thinking is going to be real interesting. I don't think it's going to be that interesting. I know that the Indiana Pacers have been great this season, especially with them losing their star player. It's a crazy season that we have to commend them for, but the playoffs, Kyrie Irving is a different monster. And we haven't seen Kyrie play in the playoffs in a couple years now because of last year. Of course, he sat out. He's a different monster once the playoffs comes around. And I know that Marcus Smart is going to be injured, but I don't think that matters too much. I'm going Boston Celtics at 5. I'm going Boston Celtics in 5. I just think they're too good. And I think that even though Miles Turner is a great defender, he will struggle with guarding Al Horford because Al Horford can stretch the floor and bring Miles Turner out of that paint. Give me Boston in 5. So that's it. Those are my predictions. Of course, the comment section is there for you guys to tell me y'all's. I understand that some of my predictions may be controversial, but it is what it is. Y'all know I'm not biased at all because I'm a Bulls fan and the Bulls suck. So I'm not rooting for anyone. I'm not rooting for anyone. I'm just wanting good playoff series. And a lot of these matchups I think are going to be super, super good. Even if I said a certain team is going to win in 5 games, sometimes those 5 games can be down to the wire. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout every single night. But I appreciate y'all getting to this point in the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'll be down there while I'm on the plane. Free Wi-Fi on the plane I'm on. So I'll be reading the comment section. So be sure to comment down below. Thank y'all so much. Peace.